story has been basically what I call satellite reported on quite a few pro wrestling news websites. It's a non-story in my opinion. It's a troll filing, but considering the timing of this, the anniversaries that are coming up, and well, the possible implications if this did happen, and also what it means, I thought it was good to talk about this. I think it was an interesting story anyway to me. What I'm talking about is, of course, and I'm reading off my phone. I've taken a snip tool from WrestlingNewsSource.com, one of the many websites to report it. A company called DEMPERIO Sports and Entertainment LLC filed for a trademark at the end of last year. The trademark they filed for was World Wrestling Federation. Yes, they actually went ahead and made a trademark filing for World Wrestling Federation. You can see where I'm coming from now when I'm talking about a bit of a troll move. Now, according to the many articles, the filing states that its use is for entertainment in the nature of wrestling contests, entertainment services, namely wrestling exhibits and performances by a professional wrestler and entertainer, providing wrestling news and information via a global computer network. It's an obvious trolling. I think this is not going to go through. I said about the anniversary because this month marks 20 years since the end of the Monday Night Wars, and I'm going to talk about that in a separate video about WCW, and we're actually upcoming to the 19th anniversary of WWE changing its name to WWE, to World Wrestling Entertainment, of course following the lawsuit with the World Wildlife Fund, who now own the WWF initials. It was actually May the 5th, 2002 that World Wrestling Federation announced its intention, or had to really change its name to World Wrestling Entertainment, now commonly simply WWE. The implications on this, now let's just assume, far-reaching, I know, that this filing could possibly have been or would be allowed. That would have reaching implications for WWE. Obviously, the history of the company, World Wrestling Federation, Worldwide Wrestling Federation, the name of the company is for many, many decades. We saw after the lawsuit with the World Wildlife Fund that WWE, we still see it now on social media like YouTube or Facebook. We certainly have seen it on DVD releases, that they basically have to pixelate their famed WWF scratch logo that they had for many years, that was very prominent during the Attitude Era. In fact, some people still, when wrestling comes on TV or it's talked about, or they have a guest from wrestling, sometimes they still refer to it as WWF Wrestling, where it's actually coming up, like I said, 19 years since the company changed their name. But it's that prominent, people around the world still call it WWF Wrestling, where it's now, just to make it clear so I don't get anybody going after me, WWF is World Wildlife Fund. It's all about the animals. I know people have criticism of that charity as well, but anyway. So, a lot of releases after that lawsuit, WWE have had and continue to have to either pixelate or just use the pixelated footage. If it's an archived event, pay-per-view match, whatever it is, WWE still have to use that. I honestly don't know what the legal relationship between the World Wildlife Fund and WWE is these days. I don't know whether they don't like each other, they just basically, because of the name change, leave each other alone. I really don't know. If that filing was to go ahead, which it won't, it would be another legal headache for WWE, because obviously technically they would, well, really legally, if it did go ahead, they would lose the rights to possibly World Wrestling Federation. Now obviously I'm not going to go into that too much because it's not going to happen. I would imagine, I don't know whether it's settled by now, but obviously WWE would move very quickly to, I would hope anyway, to protect their assets like the name World Wrestling Federation, because obviously with things like the WWE Network, they've got a lot of the archive footage on there. It's basically the history of the company, and with prior use and all the evidence of ownership and creation probably of that name, I would assume that WWE would very quickly and successfully defend this so-called action. To be honest, looking at it, like I said, I didn't really do a huge research in it, of DEMPERIO Sports and Entertainment LLC. In my opinion, this kind of looks, and this is just my opinion from just reading the articles and what I've seen online, it kind of looks like an attempt to extract money from WWE, saying like, oh, like I said, I don't know whether this World Wrestling Federation trademarks or copyrights were expiring and they jumped on it, or what the situation with that is. But it does look a little bit like an attempt to kind of try and extract money from the company, almost like you used to get on social media, where like when Twitter was announced or released, people would jump on and get Alexa Bliss or Shinsuke Nakamura or whichever the wrestler, and then go, oh well, I'll let you have your Alexa Bliss if you pay me X amount of money. There's been a lot of troll filings continually over the years. I mean, we even saw one a few years ago with computing, where a few guys tried to, and they actually went to court. You may have seen adverts on YouTube about it. You may have heard adverts on podcasts about it, because there were quite a few on different podcasts about guys who, basically the lawsuit was that they tried to assert that they owned the technology of transferring one piece of information from any computing device to another, whether it be via email, USB memory stick, memory card, any electronic or physical means. They tried to assert that they owned that technology or that procedures or whatever it was, and wanted paid every time that happened, which would have been obviously billions of dollars. But obviously that was thrown out. That was very quickly dealt with. Hopefully it's all settled, and they've been told to basically go away. So this seems like to me just a bit of a troll filing, a bit of a joke, somebody maybe trying to make money. I can't guarantee that. I'm not 100% saying that, obviously, but it just looks like it's a bit of a joke filing, and it's a shame to me, because it just looks like it's another legal headache that WWE have to deal with, and they've had to deal with a few dumb headaches lately.